Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Friends in the Wild podcast. As you can see, if you're watching on video, we are here for the long-awaited episode. We are here with my mommy, Pam Jenkins, also known as the honorary mayor of Rogersville. My brother's friends in college called her the mayor of Rogersville. And I think we're all really excited for this.
Yeah, I'm really shocked that it's taken 2 years for us to get it. We had to send her our schedule, and she had to tell us when she was free.
We had to pencil her in.
She's the honorary mayor.
She had to pencil us in.
Yeah. So thank you for your time.
Good thing for y'all it snowed this weekend, huh?
Yeah. The snowstorm
cleared my calendar a little bit.
The snowstorm made her have availability.
This is actually her community service for the week. So.
So she is here with her favorite child on her favorite child's podcast. I was saying that when I was planning that joke, I was going to say, just kidding, that's my brother, Will, which is true. Would you say that Will's your favorite child?
Let's just jump to
Absolutely not. You're definitely my favorite daughter.
Yeah, that's all I ever get.
I was going to say, let's get to the nitty gritty. Who's your favorite and why?
But I'm also her least favorite daughter.
Ooh, that's a tough.
I've never used that.
She just thinks
But she would.
No, not at all.
Okay, so Mom was also did I say she was our most requested guest when we asked on the Instagram stories the other day? Mom and Missy, Mally's mom, were our two most requested guests.
Yeah. And we were going to do a collab episode with both of them, but I think that they deserve their own episode.
Their own spotlight.
Duh.
Yeah.
I have a hair in my mouth, sorry.
And we also have producers here, and we're also on TikTok Live. So this is
this is a big moment.
Yeah. It feels like this is what the rest of our podcast is going to feel like. This is the beginning of the next stage. So we're going to start with Mom telling us just a little bit about herself so that if you don't know me personally and her through me, or you're just kind of a far away listener, you'll know who you're talking to. So take it away, Mom.
Well, my name is Pam Jenkins. I am a lifelong Tennessean. Particularly an East Tennessean, with the exception of a few years that we lived in Williamson County and in Franklin, Tennessee, and Middle Tennessee when Doug and I were first married 30 plus years ago now, which seems crazy now that you girls are in your wedding eras. We both grew up and went to school in Hawkins County. We are both products of the public school system in Hawkins County and Rogersville City School. Douglas and I are both the youngest of four, so that's something else unique about the two of us. I have two older sisters and an older brother. My parents were farmers by trade, and I was maybe an accident, maybe a surprise. My mom and daddy aren't here to tell about that anymore, but my siblings were 17, 15, and 12 years of age when I was born. So that was a little different.
I didn't know you had three siblings, to be honest. And
yes.
I didn't know that you all.
Yeah. Douglas has two sisters and a brother, and I also have two sisters and a brother. So there's two girls and two boys. And
they're both a baby of four.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had four.
Yes.
Yeah.
How fun.
So Jim is the only one they can relate to.
That's what we laughed and said we would have to have four before we had one that we could relate to.
Yeah. Just don't know us at
getting
all.
the first thing over the way. They need
I don't
someone
know.
to connect
They just
with.
kind of raise themselves. We don't know about them. But now Jim, we get him.
Prodigy.
I don't know if that's true or not.
So anyway, Mom, tell a little bit. We had some requests since we're approaching Valentine's Day for you to tell about your love story with my dad.
We had a really good time when we dated. We were both very interested in history, very interested in family history, and that was before the internet and DNA and all that kind of thing. So if you wanted to do your family tree, you went and talked to the older members of your family or the older members in the community, and you walked and went to cemeteries and tried to read the engraving on tombstones and went to the archives. Everything was on microfilm then, or microfiche. You couldn't log into Ancestry.com, as I think Douglas does every day now.
Yeah. Okay, but where did you meet? You went to high school together.
We did go to high school together. We did not date in high school. Doug was finishing at Tennessee Tech. In fact, I think he was home and going back to Tennessee Tech on a Sunday afternoon. and was in Rogersville and was about to drive home, and he was going to graduate that next weekend. And I think I actually had Josh Horton in the car with me in Rogersville.
Josh is our producer today, my cousin Josh.
And happened to run into Douglas at the gas station. And he was teasing me because some of our other folks our age in Rogersville might remember about that time, a lady had driven her car, I think, through the Hell Springs Inn.
Sounds like a recent event.
We had a similar event. Yeah, these things tend to happen every 20 years or so in Rogersville. So he was teasing me and said, I heard something about some lady, being with her nephew and letting her car run through a wall or something. Was that you? Because Josh is a little kid about like Henry is now, crawling all over my car. So, we just kind of started talking there and probably sat there and talked for an hour or longer. I think I had headed to church with him. I don't think I even made it to church that night. I think I sat there and talked to Doug too long. But he went back to Tennessee Tech and then was home for the summer and then worked at the bank the following fall at the old Citizens Union Bank downtown in Rogersville, the same building where our offices are still today. And we just started talking and dating that summer.
Yeah.
How long did you all date before you got married?
About a year and a half.
Oh. And how did Dad propose? I've told this story on the podcast before.
Well, we were riding down the road.
We're in a proposal phase of life, so we're interested.
We were, I'm pretty sure, in his old white Ford Ranger pickup truck. And, he knew he wanted to go to law school, and I was about to do student teaching. So, it was obvious that if we were going to spend very much time together, we were going to have to make some other arrangement kind of thing. And as he kind of started talking about law schools and where they were, he talked about Memphis, Birmingham, and the Nashville School of Law, which is where he ended up going. But at some point, we're driving down there, and I think we're driving down the river road, and he just kind of looks over at me and says, "So, are we going to get married or what?"
And then what did you do?
Apparently, he says I never answered. I don't know. Apparently, I started crying, and we started planning a wedding. And
so did he have a ring?
Not at that point. Not at that point.
He wanted to make sure you would say yes.
I think, yeah. He was going to like.
Before he made that, he wasn't taking that risk.
We're going to take that risk.
I'm just kidding.
Okay, well, while
that's
we're talking,
sweet though. It's just like heartfelt, not a like a huge big. That's how my parents kind of got engaged too.
Yeah.
I think my mom said no the first time actually, and then they did it, but very similar.
It took him a few tries.
Right.
He definitely wasn't buying a ring. Okay, well, while we're here, let's talk about your wedding and your mother of the bride era. We got some requests to talk about like the trends of weddings during your all's era, and
now
wedding trends now, which it's just like exploded into a huge ginormous industry, so it's completely different now. But talk about your wedding a little bit, where it was,
Well, unlike today, me and many of my friends were married in a church.
Yep.
We were married, Douglas and I were married at Choptack, where we still go. For those of you who have been to Choptack in the past 35 to 40 years, you remember the old green pew covers. They were there. They were not the most attractive things. Looking
like
back,
lime green. They were there when I was little. They were like lime.
Our church had green pews too.
Sinus infection green.
What did you actually
call it? That was not a consideration at all. I mean, it didn't even occur to you to question
not get married.
What the church
you didn't question what your church looked like. That was your church, and that was the center of your your faith walk and everything, and that was important to it was important that you were going to get married at church.
I think personally that this is a trend that we should bring back. Is what we were talking about earlier, because that is like it's a godly thing. Like the church should be the center of your marriage. Also, on a more worldly viewpoint, so much cheaper. Like getting married at the church is free.
Oh, for sure.
Even if you want to have your reception elsewhere, like I don't know, I see church weddings coming back. Mm-hmm. I'm going to predict.
I hope you're right.
The recession indicator.
Right. Yeah, weddings are going to get so expensive, people will have no choice. But I do it is a sweet gesture to get married, like in your church where your relationship should be based.
Well, almost. I mean, even obviously people who are very religious and very spiritual and whatever. Nobody gets married in a church.
I can't tell you the last time I've been to a church wedding, truthfully.
Mine was probably Josh and Rachel's.
I think mine was in high school. It was the last time I've been to a church wedding, so.
Well, and your cousin Billy's was at the Huguenot church in Charleston. It was in a church, yes.
Yeah, French Huguenot church in Charleston. It's like a destination.
Yeah, it was a destination, and it was beautiful. Church. Yes.
Yeah. Are they? Is her family French Huguenot?
I have no idea.
I don't either. It's just beautiful, I think.
It was beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous venue.
What were your colors?
My colors, well, it started out sugar plum because it was going to be 3 days after Christmas, because I graduated on December the 14th and got married on December the 28th. So I had 2 weeks in between. The whole time I was planning the wedding, I was student teaching at Dobbins Bennett. We did not have cell phones. If I needed to call and see if something had been delivered or if I needed to stop and pick something up, you had to stop at a gas station and use a payphone. So it was completely different. And, a very dear friend of ours that I had grown up with, her daughter, Stephanie Horn's mama, Linda Horn, and mama designed and made my wedding dress. And she sewed thousands of these little bitty pearls on that dress. And so that was different. And I used my first cousin's veil. I borrowed her veil. And it was very common then for people to have their bridesmaids dresses made. I think Linda had made Aunt Georgianne's dresses for her bridesmaids. And another girl that we were really good friends with that was getting married about the same time, she was making her bridesmaids dresses.
So what were your colors?
The sugar plum ended up not being available because we were ordering our fabric from the old Hancock Fabrics
from a catalog
in Kingsport. No, they had samples. They had swatches. And so I picked out this really sugar plum, a kind of a lilac color, but it ended up, the lilac was not available and the pink was. So mine was kind of a dusty pink.
I love your wedding colors.
And it had a little embossed flower in it. And, back then, cummerbunds were a thing. Gentlemen wore bow ties and cummerbunds. So Doug and I at this time had 5 nephews, the oldest of which was probably 6.
Josh was one of them, and he still seems unhappy about
Josh is still very gets a really endearing look on his face to me when I tell about him wearing the pink bow tie and the pink cummerbund.
Real men wear pink. So.
Yeah, we had Josh and Justin and Larry and Zach and, of course, Doug's nephew, Caleb, and they were all dressed in their little white tux-type shirts, and they had little pink bow ties that Linda Horn also made, these tiny little pink bow ties and pink pleated cummerbunds. That's
so sweet.
And so that's what they wore in our wedding, along with my nieces were all bridesmaids and junior bridesmaids. My sister was my matron of honor, Karen, and then my best friend from elementary school up, Sherry Davis, now Sherry Stewardson in Knoxville, was my maid of honor. Sweet. And so it was real sweet.
So your reception was like in the fellowship hall?
My reception was in the fellowship hall, yes.
Did you have a first dance? Did you do anything like that?
No.
Did you cut the cake?
We cut the cake, and did like a toast with punch.
I was going to say, did you all have a wedding cake and then a groom's cake? Did you have 2?
We did have 2 cakes.
My parents did. I feel like that's also kind of a trend that's fading out. My dad had a groom's cake and then they had like a wedding cake together. But my dad's cake literally had like a deer on it and all this stuff. And then, I feel like I don't see grooms having their own cake anymore. It's just like a one kind of thing.
I feel like it's hanging
a sweet gesture.
Yeah, it's hanging on a little bit. I've seen a few, but maybe not in recent years. But I also just when I go to a wedding, I kind of don't look at the cake.
Really?
The wedding cake might be something that I'm least interested in at weddings, honestly.
I love the pictures of the cakes.
Yeah.
That's all that matters, truthfully, about any wedding.
What was your cake? Did you have a tiered cake?
I did have a tiered cake, and I think Dad's groom's cake was just a plain chocolate cake, as I recall, a plain chocolate sheet cake. Elsie Rogan Straley did all of our catering and made our cakes. But our cake was a little bit modern at the time because our wedding was at the time when a lot of the wedding toppers still had the little bride and groom
I love those.
on top.
Yeah.
And mine did not have that. We just had fresh flowers.
Cute.
Yeah, ours was just white and had a lot of
So
pink
wait,
and
were you
fresh
saying
flowers.
that was more modern?
Yeah, the flowers were more of a recent thing
Instead
at
of
the time. The little bride and groom cake topper was kind of the traditional at that
What
point.
were the trends of weddings at that time?
The trends of weddings
Like what
at that
was
time?
kind of in fashion?
Well, it had become very in fashion to use fake flowers, which we did not. I did have a fake bouquet when we did the bouquet toss.
That's smart.
Everybody did like the traditional Owen Mills engagement pictures, and then you went to Owen Mills and did bridal portraits. And, you know, most of our dresses had somewhat of a train, not a huge long train, but somewhat of a train.
And you guys had dresses with like the puffy sleeves.
We did have puffy sleeves.
Like kind of gunny sacks.
Some people had more of the sweetheart neckline, you know, or an off the shoulder.
I think
but they had
Beth's
some
was like-
puff and lace.
If I am remembering correctly, she'll say on the live. I think she had like a heart neckline with like a little dangly thing. It was cute.
That was very common.
Did you have a meal at your wedding?
We did not have a meal. We got married at 1:00 in the afternoon. So we had finger foods, which were pretty much all eaten by the time we did pictures, you know, because no one did pictures prior to the wedding. I mean, like you took the family picture and that kind of thing, but we didn't do any in the sanctuary, even with like just the bridesmaids and the candles or anything until after the wedding. So, and we just did finger foods.
But
Go ahead.
Sorry. Weddings around that time, like what was the typical meal that would be served at a wedding that had a meal?
You would, at a wedding that had a meal?
Did like many weddings just do the finger food kind of vibe?
I think so. I think most of us just kind of did a rehearsal dinner. Like our rehearsal dinner was at First Baptist in their fellowship hall because that's where Doug's family went to church. A few months later, the Hell Springs Inn opened again. So several of our friends did get to do their rehearsal dinners at the inn. But at the time that we got married, we just did ours at the church. And I think we had chicken and vegetables.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't anything
If you,
really crazy.
Yeah.
sorry, if you didn't get married at a church, like did you have friends who like maybe weren't that religious? Like where did they get married? Were there wedding venues? Was that a thing?
I don't recall there being wedding venues.
Most people
I
you
think
knew-
at that point you either just went to the courthouse and got the county court clerk or a judge or someone you knew to marry you. People went to preachers' homes. You know, a lot of pastors at that point were full-time pastors, so you would go to the parsonage and be married. But all of my friends pretty much were married in a church, or did have a friend that got married in her mom and dad's front yard. That was neat. I think maybe her husband might have been Catholic, so there was a little bit of a different faith on each side of the family there. So they got married in her parents' front yard. But everybody else pretty much got married, got their marriage license, got married at the courthouse, or had at least a small church wedding.
Yeah.
It's just crazy, like looking at how the wedding industry has blown up strictly because of social media, because what is perceived on the media. You see
you just
things,
want to have
you get ideas, and then just being blunt and very honest, it's a comparison thing.
Yeah.
And that's why
Right.
the industry is as big as it is.
Yeah.
And that's why people have gone away from just being truthful.
Yeah.
You know, that's super observant, Mally, because I'd never thought of that, but you're exactly right. The social
Is that
media.
like when you saw it all happen?
I
too,
think
the
so.
change?
I would say that's exactly when the change took place, is when people
Yep.
started seeing what everyone was doing, you know,
could
celebrities
have.
and everyone, all over, anyone you ever heard of, you could see what their wedding looked like.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure that's a good thing.
I don't
No,
think
I mean,
that's a
I
good
think
thing.
that's the truth with anything. Like, you see homes on the internet, and that's why you're building bigger, more expensive, probably out of your budget, honestly, homes. And just the same thing, nurseries. Like, you always see what you could have. So
And
then
some
it's like,
of it is it's not
blown
always
up.
a bad thing, because you just don't know like the options unless you
True.
can see everything. So
Yeah.
that's good, and it can be more so like exactly what you want. But so much of it is like, I want everyone to think I have the best wedding. I have the
or you
best
see,
house.
yeah,
you know.
stuff on Pinterest that does not exist. Or all you see online are these millionaires who are throwing the most extravagant weddings, and you're like,
Or
that's
people who
exactly
are
what I
in
want.
copious amounts of like credit card debt from their weddings.
It
you know.
creates really unrealistic expectations.
Yeah,
so
for sure. So you guys like you would follow all the traditions. Like, you don't see the bride the day of.
Right.
Just when you walk down the aisle.
Yes.
Did you guys put a lot of pressure on that like we do? Like, everybody's like, he has to cry.
He has to cry.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
No one cried.
No.
Was in the era of
No.
like manly men, though.
Well, we did not have focus on that. That wasn't a,
you were solely there to like have a holy matrimony, truthfully.
Yeah.
Like do you feel like there was anything like you took a risk on that wasn't kind of maybe a trend that you kind of went straight off the path
The
on?
cake topper?
Like, for me, I feel like mine would have been my bouquet was in a purse. Like, that's kind of different. I'd never seen anyone do that. Was there anything like that for you? You feel like you kind of, like it was your own special touch?
well, like I was very close to my grandmother, and my mom had one sister remaining when I got married. And so she brought me like a crocheted piece. That something that had been her mom's, and then something also that had been her grandmother's, in which her grandmother was who I was named for. So, we kind of worked those into my bouquet kind of thing.
That's sweet.
So that was real sweet. But, that's a very positive thing I see to social media, is just reminding you of the things that you do have that are sentimental to you and how to use them. Just like
make it more special.
Yeah, and not just your wedding, but throughout your house. I mean, I've kind of gone nuts with doilies in my house, especially since my grandmother's passed away and my mom's passed away, and I have more of those things that were given to me. And I can remember my mother always saying that her mama said, "You need to get that out and use it now. Don't worry, I made such and such for you. Where is it? Put it out. I didn't make that for you to put it in a drawer.
Hold on to and
use it."
treat it
So
like glass.
that's one thing that I really enjoy seeing on social media is how people go back and use the doilies and the china and whatever to make things special. I'm all about the sentimental.
Yeah. And like just with my bouquet, I would have never had that thought if I didn't. My mom didn't see it on social media. So it's like a love-hate relationship.
It is, absolutely. Absolutely.
But that does make it more special.
Yeah.
Did you do, and Melly, did you do something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue? You probably had all of those things.
My something blue was my mama. She wore a blue dress.
Cute. I love how people are doing that. Making a person.
I wasn't prepared to be put on the spot. Something new? Everything.
The new's easy. Yes, the new's easy.
Something borrowed? I think I did have something borrowed, but I would have to think of it. So you go ahead and answer.
I certainly did. I mean, that was one thing we, something borrowed, something blue, and a penny in your shoe. We all had a penny in our shoe, and I had not thought of that in years. And I forget who gave me my penny, but at that point, there were like tales of good luck or fortune based on who gave you your penny that you put in your shoe. I'm going to have to think about that, and I don't know if I have that written down anywhere.
Back.
Yeah,
keep talking. Let me
that's
see if I can
fun.
find it.
But we did. Of course, my dress was new. My veil was borrowed, like I said, from my first cousin, Tarana. My things from my grandmother, my bouquet, were old. And then blue, and you girls love to talk about garters. I did have a blue garter, but Douglas and I were talking about, we were talking about that before we started this recording tonight. I don't think we did a garter toss.
Okay, so you just wore it.
And garter tosses back then were not trashy.
I was about to say weird.
They were not weird. They might have been weird, but we didn't think it was weird because it just went like right above your knee. It was not risque at all. And we all, that was in an age where everybody still wore pantyhose.
So it wasn't your wear garters?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I don't know anybody that wore garters.
Just for your wedding?
Yeah. Okay. And it was just a decorative. It's probably in this house somewhere. It was just just the blue decorative garden with the little ribbon on it.
This is what it says about the penny. Placing a coin, traditionally a silver sixpence, now a penny, in a bride's shoe is a Victorian-era tradition symbolizing wealth, prosperity, and protection. Placed in the left shoe, do you remember this? Is this how you guys did it? Placed in the left shoe,
I don't remember specifically.
It signifies a fortunate and stable future, frequently gifted by a father to wish his daughter abundance or by a loved one as a cherished something old.
That's sweet. You need to do that. I'd never heard of a penny in your
I had forgotten about it till just now.
Mm-hmm. That is really sweet.
Okay, anything else about weddings? I mean, there's so much. We just have so many new...
Wedding culture in itself is just insane now.
We have so many...
Well, I do remember this, and talking about the penny in their shoe. My wedding shoes had made the rounds. I had bought those shoes, I guess, for my junior prom, because I did have a gunny sack dress from Rod Armstrong's from downtown Rogersville. And I had just white satin shoes, and they could have been dyed. Back then, we dyed our shoes. But my underlayers of my dress were white. So I had these white satin shoes covered in lace. So I had those for my junior prom. And then one of my best friends, Delinda Cook, the twins, Melinda and Delinda, for those of you that we grew up with, all of y'all know and remember and love Melinda and Delinda. Delinda was in homecoming and was our homecoming queen my senior year. She wore those shoes. And then I had a white dress my senior prom, and I wore those shoes. And then I was in homecoming at Walter State, and I wore those shoes. And then I wore those shoes again for my wedding. So we didn't think anything about recycling things. We did not have to have new things over and over and over again.
Yeah. That is definitely a consumer problem our generation has.
Yeah.
For sure. Because once you wear it once, it's like, okay, it's been seen by the public eye.
If it's on your Instagram, like you might as well just get rid of it.
Burn it.
Yeah, that's how we feel. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Burn it. Burn it.
I do want to ask you, stepping into your new role as mother of the bride, how are you feeling?
Well, excited. And I almost had...
Cries every night. She says that.
Well, I cry every day about something. When you get to be 56, you'll find out you cry about something every day, whether it's a happy memory, a sad memory, afraid you're going to run over your child's last childhood animal, Oliver that lives out here that chases the dog, chases the cars. There's something to cry about daily. But
I told her it was okay if she cried on the podcast.
I don't think I'm going to cry on the podcast.
Because I do it all the time. So join
I don't
the
think
party.
I'm going to. I might, but I haven't so far. But no, I was really excited, and then I almost had a panic attack.
I could see how
that morning.
Possible.
Like I think that was. Did you get engaged on a Thursday?
I think it was a Thursday. Yeah.
Okay, so Friday morning, several of my friends got a text. Kind of a frantic text. I text Renee, Trent. I text Amy Kenner. Seemed like I text a couple of other people. I was really about to panic because I thought, I am the mother of the bride.
Yep.
This is my only daughter. I should have a list. I should have a notebook. I should have a plan of what to do,
And she's like freaking out that she hasn't already done this.
I needed a gift. Like there's something sentimental that I'm supposed to give her when she gets engaged. I don't know where all these thoughts come from, but that's kind of where I am. So, if I have some free time during this engagement, I'm going to write like a
guide.
Yes, a guide
That's
for
idea.
mothers of the bride.
The whole time I was engaged, I was like, I need to write all this down so that when LG gets engaged, I'm just like, here's everything.
This is everything I figured out.
That
would be great.
How much?
Yes.
And then
you should sell that, actually.
Oh, that's why there's wedding planning books and all this stuff, like crash courses. That's why there's wedding coordinators and planners, because it's insane. And then you get a month out and you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't done this. And it's huge, booking a DJ for me. So it's
But that was the common thing of all my friends was buy her a wedding planner. Oh, I did get my daughter a gift. It was a wedding planner. So,
Mine's right back there.
Yeah.
Beth Morgan and I met for coffee and to have lunch on that Saturday morning after y'all had gotten engaged. And I had some ideas from Pinterest and Etsy, and she told me about a happy planner. And so I ordered a happy planner. And also, shout out to Luella's in downtown Rogersville. They are expanding their bridal section, and they had some super, super cute things. I picked up a Mr. and Mrs. Devotions book. Got a little heart keychain that I got her. They had some beautiful little pink tulips. They had several cute things so I had her a little gift bag when she came back from her trip, and then had her happy planner shipped, and it's gorgeous.
It was very sweet.
I want her to write in it before she goes back to school this week.
Yeah.
I got a couple gifts from there. I got a Kate Spade I Do engagement journal as well, and then just a I do journal, and then also got an address book, which I thought was sweet because
I want an address
collect
book.
so many addresses and it's really hard to keep count. So that was really sweet, just and to have like in your future.
Yeah,
because
for Christmas cards and letters.
They had some really cute stuff. So I'm excited to see their new stuff. But I'm sure you're going to be the most excellent mother of the bride. You're just
you've done so great so far.
As we'll talk, you are on top of
the first
everything.
10 days. I'm good.
That's what I'm saying. You can't mess it up. I'm not expecting anything, obviously.
And right now is like the blissful time. Like,
Right.
I haven't dove into wedding planning yet.
Mom,
so enjoy
do
that.
Do you approve of Ryan?
Oh, absolutely.
She has to say that.
More importantly, I approve of Craig and Beth. So,
Are you excited to merge the two families?
Absolutely.
It is fun.
It is exciting.
Sweet. Do you have any advice for like newly married couples like myself or those planning a marriage? What would be your one piece of advice?
What's your marriage advice?
Whatever upsets you or gets under your skin, let it go. It's probably not going to be a big deal when you look back on it 30 years from now.
So you shouldn't bring it up the first time?
Well, I think you should talk to your spouse about anything. I do.
Definitely.
I think you should talk to your spouse about anything and everything. I don't necessarily think you should get your feelings hurt, as I was guilty of at times, when they don't react.
Like you're expecting them
Yes.
to?
Yeah.
In your honor or in your defense as much as you think they should.
That's true, because for me, like, I only had a sister, so I'm used to a female reaction to things. And now when I tell a man and he doesn't react the way I'm used to, I'm just like, I need to tell a woman this news or something. It's just kind of hard because they're female and male is just so different, and the things we care about and think are important are so different. So sometimes it's like, oh, you're supposed to be more upset about this or more passionate about this, and they're just not.
And we got married and moved.
Yeah,
We
that's
moved 4
hard.
hours away. And it was hard. I was homesick, but it was probably a blessing too, because keep in mind, I'm the baby. And I had 2 sisters and a sister-in-law to whom I was very close to all 3 of them. And, you know, there were times that if I could have run away to one of their houses and been like, you're not going to believe what happened today, you know, it might have been different, you know, but I was 4 hours away and I had to depend on him. And that was very good for us.
Yeah. That's definitely true. I remember like our first few nights, I was obviously hysterical and wanting to go home. And Colin's like, Mally, you can go home. I was like, no, if I go stay the night with my parents, I'm never going to get over this. I literally have to tough it out and just stay here because I'm not going to be okay if I just give in.
You're going to annul your marriage.
Yeah.
You did that.
Accidentally. Not even meaning to. I'm just sad. I don't want to not be married. I just miss my mom and dad.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is hard.
Mom, I always think it would have been so cool to like read your journal or something from that era of your life, you know? Partially because you're like the age that you were the age that I'm now.
Right.
Or maybe if you had like a podcast or something like that.
If I'd only had a podcast in 1991.
Because I
You would
think
be a millionaire.
Yes.
yeah, actually, the first ever podcast. I think that I am very much like you in like certain things, like being a control freak, but also very good things. But I think you at 24 and me at 24 would be like completely different people. Like you were married, you were living in Franklin, you're so type A, so organized, you know, and I'm not like that.
Well, our generation was just different, you know, and there were so many of my friends that were teachers, and we all sort of followed a path. You know, our weddings had a lot of things in common. Our manner of dress had a lot of things in common. You know, our decorating styles, you know, it was, and we didn't have Pinterest and social media. We had one another, and that was what, you know, that was what we relied on. And, just as we have talked many times within our family about what good friends and a good community and everything that y'all grew up in, I was very blessed to be around a lot of good people. And even when we, my friends here, my church family here, my family, my extended family, then when we moved to Franklin, I was at a very rural school, Page High School, that was out in the edge of Williamson County next to the Rutherford County line. And just really, really good people that just took us in, basically adopted us, treated us as family. And we were just very blessed with the group of people that, God chose for us to come in contact with.
Yeah, I think that's a topic we wanted to talk to you about is like building your village and like how you pour into your village. And growing up with LG kind of on the outside, you all always have people at your house. You all are always having a function, always doing something. Personally, I admire your energy. I feel like you are always going, and I don't know how you do it all, but I think that really pours into your village. So if you want to speak more on that. And like, people can be a good village to you, but how do you be a good village to other people? Yeah, I guess is my question.
You're kind of the person who like keeps the village going. Like everyone's always here. You're always having cousin day and whatever, and having people from the church over. So yeah, just talk a little bit about that.
Well, I think it comes from the way I grew up. When we grew up, you went to church on Sunday and you saw your grandparents on Sunday afternoons. And I had one set of grandparents that were, local to me until I was about 8 years old. And then my grandfather passed away. My grandmother moved to Kingsport. And, Kingsport was kind of that was a trip, in 1979 when she first moved there. But my dad's parents had moved to Indianapolis. They were natives of Hawkins County as well, but they had moved. He was one of 10, and he and most of his siblings and his parents moved to the Indianapolis area in probably the late 50s, early 60s before I was born. But Dad had an aunt and uncle. The uncle was a brother to his father, and the uncle's wife was not just the aunt by marriage, she was also my grandmother's sister. So there were these 10 siblings in Daddy's family and 7 siblings in the aunt and uncle's family. And they still were local. They lived over in Itsen. And we were there many Sunday afternoons with, people who we've laughed and said we didn't realize we weren't first cousins, and that my grandparents weren't their grandparents and vice versa until we were adults. So there were always people around. And even if it was a holiday that wasn't celebrated as a holiday, for instance, we didn't celebrate Thanksgiving because we lived on a farm. And that was the day Daddy was off from work and we were killing hogs or graining tobacco or doing something work related. Mm-hmm. The only day you didn't work, pretty much daylight to dark at my house, was on Sunday. But, some of my best memories growing up are going across the mountain and being at Gail and Jane Lawson's and playing with their grandchildren, and other people stopping by and catching crawdads out of the creek, and wagon trains coming by. It was a different world in the late 70s and early 80s, and it was very community based. And, when I grew up going to revivals with Mom and Daddy and all these little country churches around Hawkins and Hancock County. And you would be, when I was in youth group, I ended up going to Shepherd's Chapel a lot to the youth group because that's where Melinda and Delinda Cook's daddy was the pastor. And our youth group would go around and sing to different places. So I was always around all these different people. And I'm kind of unique in where I am as far as my siblings being adults. Mm-hmm. And me being around my nieces and nephews who are now, in their 40s and getting some of them getting close to 50. I won't shout out who you are, but, that I'm kind of in a unique spot because, I'm in between. Yeah. I'm actually closer in age to some of my nieces and nephews than I am my own siblings. So that just sort of made me want to keep in touch with people. Yeah. And my, Doug's love for genealogy, our love for history. I didn't do genealogy as faithfully or as intently as he did, but I was always interested. My grandfather had 7 sisters. All their first names ended in an A. That always just kind of fascinated me as a child. So also, the other part of that fascinated me is my mother's maiden name was Goins, and that's part of the Melungeon interest in our region in Appalachia. And so that always kind of interests me, because we're all these ladies whose last names were A, were they some mysterious Indian tribe or Portuguese? When you're 9 and 10 years old, that can be pretty exciting. So I always wanted to, I always enjoyed that Sunday after church, play with the cousins, eat watermelon, ride ponies, that was my vibe. And that's very much what I like to keep going. I like for all of my nieces and nephews' children, which are my great nieces and nephews, I like for them to know one another and to feel like, hey, that's my cousin, and know how they're related,
Definitely.
I did not inherit your interest in knowing how I'm related to people. I just have to say, maybe one of my brothers will carry it on, but it can't be me. You say all the time, "Oh, they're your cousin. You know them. They're your cousin." I don't know that, and I'm not going to listen to you tell me how they're my cousin. I'm sorry,
but that's okay. Everybody doesn't have to do it.
You better document it.
It only has. Your dad can leave you his password to ancestry.com. It's all there. There's like.
Oh, I know.
I don't know, probably 70,000 names in there. Not that we're related to all of them, but if you know anyone who's married into our family, Doug has probably done your genealogy, and it's in that ancestry.com file.
Maybe as I get older, I'll get more interested. But yeah, but you guys were interested when you were like my age.
I was interested when I was in 4th and 5th grade.
Yeah,
that was their thing. That's why they're together.
That's your special interest.
That's okay.
Yeah, you don't have your story.
Cemeteries and dead people.
But talk about like the kind of the practicalities of it. For example, I feel like a lot of people don't want to have people over if their house isn't like perfectly put together, but you have people over literally all the time. And it's not, not that your house is messy.
I was about to say.
I'm not saying your house is messy when you have
people
over,
but Pam, if you want to.
Well, I am.
House, I know how.
I am not a clean freak. Okay, it's not. It's not spotless. Pretty much at any time, because
we live here.
Shout out to Kylie Carpenter and her girls who do a great job, because they come and clean for me quite regularly. But one trip through with Doug in his mud boots where he's been to feed the cattle in this weather, it's not clean. And 4 children with 4 bedrooms, you can't get it all clean at the same time, kind of thing. But don't worry about the spotless. Don't worry about the clutter. And, I can say that on a podcast. The nieces and nephews and the children know, we call it the dance of the bumblebee. And, we'd be at church, and maybe they were giving snow, or maybe it was Martin Luther King Day or President's Day the next day, and there wasn't going to be church. And somebody'd say, well, we ought to get together and play cards, or we ought to order pizza or whatever. We'd be like, oh, well, come to our house. Because, a lot of people lived in different directions, but we always lived kind of close to the church, and they could just stop at our house on the way, kind of thing. And sometimes it's a matter of location and convenience. And sometimes it's just, don't sit in that chair. That's the recliner that's broken. And it's like that, and that's okay. And that might not be okay for everybody, but it works for us.
Right. But I think that is kind of specific to your village, like the people that are kind of in your inner circle who come over and know that the chair's broken, or like don't care that there's dust bunnies. Because when you have an event here, like when you have people that are kind of outside that aren't here all the time, you do get more, obviously, like more.
Well, you want it to be more put together. It's not like your comfort crowd.
But that's when you call your village.
That's true.
What
a line, Mom.
That's when the sisters come. That's when Audrey shows up. I can remember when we did the
tour of homes,
and even the first baby shower, when we did the baby shower at the little house across the road when we were expecting John. And I told Audrey, you have to come early and fluff my curtains, because I had those country. That was a trend at the time. We had those curtains with the ruffles, and she could make those ruffles perfect, and I couldn't. So you have your village. You have the time when you girls we were trying to get y'all into the city school, and your siblings were already at Rogersville City School, but y'all might not get to go. And so they call in New Year's Eve, not Christmas Eve. New Year's Eve was on Sunday.
We live in the county, and we had to like wait in line to get into the city school. But
because we lived in the county.
Send us there.
Yes.
No, we didn't have.
We weren't.
Yes.
We weren't zoned for the city school.
And it hadn't been a big deal until just a couple of years before y'all. But then you had some students, some families who had one student already at the city school, and then the sibling ended up at Joseph Rogers. Not that Joseph Rogers is a bad school by any means.
It's just inconvenient.
I went to school in the county schools and praised them, had wonderful teachers. But when you have 4 children, the idea of taking one to, K1 through 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then 1 to 6, 7, 8, it wasn't practical. Plus, they had an aunt at RCS. So, that's where we wanted them to go to school. And we already had John and Will there. And so I have a whole crowd of people coming to my house on New Year's Eve, as we have for years. And my foot hits the first step going into Choptack Church, and I get the call that says, "Hey, Pam, guess what? We're lined up over at the city school." And I'm like, they're not taking applications until Wednesday. But
How far in advance?
that was Sunday night.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I remember this
Yes.
longer. My parents have told me.
Yes.
Was it for us?
Yes,
For us to get
yes,
in?
it was for you and Mally.
I remember us being there, and we watched a DVD on Mally's red DVD player.
Your grandmother, I guess, had like a camper, had a pull behind
I
camper,
thought we were in
and
a
bring
camper.
it. We paid Josh and Justin to go see it part of our time. John was probably in 2nd or 3rd grade, and someone had a propane heater, and he had his little coveralls on, and he
so
backed
funny.
up to it and caught his coveralls on fire. There was a lot of stuff happened in those 4 days. There's a lot of good memories.
Like I feel like they would never make people wait in line to get into the city school now.
I don't know how they handle it now.
It's
I don't know
probably
if
a
that's still a
digital
problem.
wait
It's
list.
an online.
It might be a digital wait
buying
list
concert
now.
tickets.
Now there's some private schools around that people drive their kids
Yeah.
to. Things just kind of changed. But y'all were the year that we sat out.
That is insane.
I think there were there ended up being about 17 parents' names on that waiting list by the time that Wednesday morning rolled around.
Thank you for your sacrifice,
Yeah.
truly. Because we probably would not have been best friends if we didn't go to school together.
True.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, we wouldn't have been close.
Because we didn't meet anyone else in high school.
There was
kept
no
our
one else
same-
but me and you. No one else
kept
the
our
whole town.
same friend group.
But what I was going to say about hosting and stuff is there's always going to be an excuse. So I think that like your house is too dirty.
Yeah.
In my case, it's my house is too small, which is a valid excuse. I think you just got to get over the excuses and just do.
Yeah,
Right.
if it's important to you to have
Yeah.
a village, yeah.
I don't think.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't think your cousins are going to ever remember a dirty streak
No.
of footprints.
Yeah,
in
like
your
dust
house.
bunnies under the table.
They're going to remember the fun and stuff. So
Right.
Exactly. Everybody online right now, the reason we're saying village so much is the like kind of trend on the internet is like, in order to have a village, you must be a villager. And the example is always like, you have to take your friends to the airport even when it's inconvenient. Like the price of community is inconvenience. So I just think you're very good at that.
Thank
do you consider yourself an inconvenienced person?
Do you feel inconvenienced?
I do not.
And
I
that's
do
because
not.
you love it and it's important
Yeah.
to you.
I do. And I mean, I love airports. If you need to be picked up at the airport or took to the airport, I'm your gal.
Yeah.
I might find somewhere that I need to go because if you buy your Allegiant ticket at the airport, you avoid some fees. So,
Really?
it might be
Free
beneficial to me while I'm there. Yeah.
Thank you for that information. I love Allegiant. That
Okay,
spirit. Because they're cheap.
we did ask our Facebook friends, some friends in the wild, if you will, what they wanted to hear from you, and we got lots of responses. So, do we need to do anything before we jump into kind of rapid fire questions?
I think most of the topics we want to cover are in the
Or
questions.
in the questions, yeah. So, our friend in the wild, Denise, I put their names in here. I think it's fun
A
to
little
like
shout out.
say the names of the people, who are asking questions, which we've never done before. So, our friend Denise said, "What is the secret behind raising such wonderful children?"
Well,
A village.
probably. But at the same time, we have been blessed with a big family that takes up the slack. Lots of church family that are like family, and just like Denise, cool people that you meet all over the state because you are willing to go and do. If you get the opportunity to involve your children in things like 4-H, which is how we know Denise, do it, because the more people that you can expose your children to while they're with you, there again, I'm a control freak, but you are building their experiences and their memories rather than just sending them. I have been very fortunate personally to be involved in a lot of statewide things, and it has absolutely shown me what good people there are all across this state, and that you just keep giving your kids positive things.
Yeah.
Always. And when there's not positive, when something happens that's not positive, deal with it as quickly, acknowledge the problem, don't put it off. And I'm not saying we've always done this right by any means, but, deal with it quickly and get back on a positive spectrum just as quickly as you can.
That's good
Those
advice.
are good tips. Do you think you have raised wonderful children?
I think I have raised wonderful children, but y'all
think
put me
you
on the spot, make me brag on you right
This
here.
whole episode is just me trying to get Mom to say nice things about us. Yeah. Okay. Our friend in the wild, Jennifer, said, what were some of your favorite family trips?
We have done some awesome road trips. We are not people who fly a lot.
Despite your love.
We
kind of fly a lot.
Well, we have kind of in later years.
But I flew for the first time when I was 5 to Chicago.
Right, but that was my very first time flying too.
Yeah.
So, that was quite different.
I do have to share an interesting quirk about Mom while we're on the topic of family trips. On every family trip that we've ever gone on, and even some non-family trips.
Our trip.
Yeah, for me and Mallie when we went on her bachelorette trip, Mom puts together a folder, and it'll have like information about where we're going, like the MapQuest screenshot of the route we're taking. It'll have word searches with information, like the words that relate to where we're going, and then also our names are always in the word search, which makes it really fun. And they were always so much fun to do when we were in the car or like on the plane or whatever. We would always race to do the word searches, and then we would have sticker books as well. And all of my friends, those have been such a hit with all of my friends, especially when you've like done them for some of like the friend trips.
It was when we were going to Connecticut for our Gilmore Girls trip.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy cow, the fact that she sat down and made all this is really sweet. So thank you. That was very kind.
You're welcome. And they're lots of fun to do, and you learn so much. And there's so many things that you can do that are state parks or state capitals or museums. Washington, D.C., all kinds of free museums, lots of things that you can do that don't cost a lot of money.
Okay, give a definitive answer. What's your favorite family trip?
My favorite? Maybe Texas.
Really?
Alaska was good.
Alaska was kind of epic.
Yes.
We went on a cruise to Alaska.
Yeah, that sounds epic.
And it was at an age, we were at an age where we could all remember it, and we were old enough to like go and play together and stuff. So yeah.
That is another thing. It's like
one of the
people don't
best.
want to spend a lot of money on these trips when their kids are little because they're not going to remember it. But do you like kind of disagree and find it important to make the memories for yourself when you're a young parent as well?
What's your take?
I think so. In places like, I know we went to Williamsburg at least twice, like historic Williamsburg, and did all that kind of thing.
I remember that.
And, the first time we went, you were probably a toddler, but John and Will enjoyed going and having the three-corner hats and the long guns and all of that. It was a lot of fun. So, your favorite places, you may need to go more than once.
Yeah.
Like Washington, D.C., we've definitely been more than once. Laura Grace and I love New York. The boys have been, but, they've been on a school trip, and then we went on a family trip also. I don't guess Jim got to go on a school trip, but he was probably the only one. But, those are definitely things that you would do again just because there's so much to see and so much that different things that interest different people. And of course, there's so many things we haven't done. We haven't seen the Grand Canyon. We haven't seen I call them the wrong things, the giant sequoias. Yeah. There's lots of things that we haven't seen and haven't done.
Okay, the next question is from Kimber, our friend in the wild. She said, how do you do all you do and with such grace? / how do you have that much energy? to do everything.
That was my
Well,
ending.
We didn't necessarily talk about like your job. Mom was a teacher for a long time, and then I was born and she quit teaching, and she went back for 1 year and said, no, thank you. And then now she's a Social Security representative.
That's correct.
Like a non-attorney representative for Social Security. And then also you're going all the time on like various boards, or have been, and then coming to see us all the time. So you're just going all the time. For background for this question.
Well, I don't mind to drive. I don't mind to get up tomorrow morning and go to Lexington or go to Nashville. 4 hours is about as far as I want to go and have to come back tomorrow night. But there are lots of things that are work related or church related or volunteer related that have just kind of kept me in that go. And I enjoy going. Everything, like I've said before, every piece of laundry doesn't have to be washed before I walk out the door. My car doesn't have to be clean. Does have to be serviced, and I keep my AAA membership. Those kinds of things, in case. Very rarely have to use them. Laura Grace has probably used them more than I have. But, just keep everything safe and moving in the right direction. And like I said there again, the go helps when, you've got people to call on if something happens, because we do live close to a lot of families, people worry about, having to leave their pets, or what if a package gets delivered or whatever, I send a text or make a phone call, and I've got folks that help me do those things. So that's part of your group too.
Village. Okay, so this is kind of a 3-in-1. We have a few different questions that all relate to the same thing. So Carla asked, talk about your love for the state of Tennessee, the great state of Tennessee. Chris asked, Tennessee landmarks every Tennessean should visit, and Beth says best unique places to visit in Tennessee.
Well, I certainly love Tennessee, specifically Hawkins County and all of East Tennessee. But as I said before, if you get the opportunity to serve or travel or do anything across the state of Tennessee, by all means do it. It's just real interesting to realize that even though we're all here in the same state, it is very diverse. East Tennessee is very different geographically from Middle Tennessee, and Middle Tennessee is very different geographically from either East or West. It's like that all across the state.
Give us some like hidden gems in Tennessee.
State parks, waterfalls, Burgess is near Cookeville.
Yeah.
Of course, probably Fall Creek Falls is the most visited, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But just little places. We stayed at Henry Horton Park, and it was basically a cinder block building, but it was beautiful. And they built a new dining lodge type thing there, and we drove out just a few miles away, and there was like a creamery and a little farm shop, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was just right off of Chapel Hill. The Hatchers have a real nice farm you can visit, and have a dairy shop there in Williamson County, very close to Page High School where I taught. And there are those little places all across the state. Certainly visit where for our 3 presidents were from in Tennessee.
Ford waterfall. My suggestion,
Cowles
if you're
Ford
from Rogersville,
yes,
or in and around, you need to go to the Cowles Ford waterfall. I think that they might have a path marked off now, because there wasn't a path.
Yeah, it's a TWRA land, if I'm not mistaken, so it can still be visited. And, there's a rumor out there that there might be a state park coming
In Hancock County.
That's
Really?
Very unofficial, but in the works. I think I think Hancock County is not, if not the number one of the top 3 for a new state park location. So, we're going to have one super close. Bays Mountain, walk to the fire tower at
Fartar.
or as some people might say, the Fartar at Bays Mountain. There's lots of things. There's I don't know if they call it a planetarium. There's something at Bays Mountain y'all have been to. Y'all used to go to the Hands-On Museum all the time.
Yes, we did.
Y'all even did a camp there.
Art camp.
Art camp.
We had an awful time at that camp, too. We had some bullies.
We did. Those girls were so mean that we went to art
I was
camp.
going to ask you, how do you think the people of Hancock County are going to feel about a state park bringing
I
tourism?
think there will be, there will be
pushback?
some mixed. There'll be some mixed emotions. I mean, because
Definitely.
it's, obviously we own, a piece of property over there, and it's exciting in one way, and in another way, it's kind of like, do we want extra
Exactly.
traffic and everybody, because when you get to talking to people across the state, it is amazing how many people go, I think my great-grandmother, I think she was a Collins. I think she came from Hancock
Everybody's
County.
from Hancock County.
Yes.
Everybody in Tennessee is from Hancock County. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yep.
And, it's neat, but it's, there would definitely be some growing pains there also. But, Hancock County was created from Hawkins County back in 1844.
We should have a whole history, Tennessee history.
We could have
lesson.
Tennessee history, yes. We'd need to have Carla Sales on with us, but we
that's
could
who
do
asked the
it.
question.
Yeah, we could do a whole Tennessee history because it is interesting. And there is a Tennessee state pledge also. And just throw that out there in case you didn't know that.
I don't think I knew that.
I think I did know that.
Changing avenues a little bit, Miss Susan asked, "Where do you shop? You always look so put together." Everyone's being so nice to you. In your
They are
Facebook
being
comments.
so nice to
That
me.
and-
I love my friends. Of course, these are my Facebook friends. So
Yeah.
come on, girls. Now let's full disclosure here. These are not
Yes.
random people. These are my Facebook.
I will say there's been a few times LG has given me fashion advice that you have given her. That
Ooh, what
so
was
I'm
it?
gonna tell two. First of all, don't go out with leggings. Essentially, like
Yeah.
be put together.
Mom, she said, sorry. She said the other day we were leaving to just like go to coffee at the Kyle, and she was like, I mean, I have leggings. I know Pam's not a fan, but
Yeah, I knew I was gonna say. I was
I
like,
think you think
"Your
that
mom-
like every time you put leggings
yeah,
on.
I'm like, should I really be going out in this? But that, and if your belt loops are showing, which I do not obey this rule, I'm so sorry. If your belt loops are showing, you need to have a belt on.
Yeah. You have always told me that.
I have
Yes,
one
I do
belt,
think it
so I'm
looks-
really
I think it-
sorry if I haven't worn it.
Sometimes I don't follow.
Just looks a little bit more put together.
does,
It's not,
yeah.
like taboo or, anything like that.
Yeah, but I don't think you own a pair of leggings.
I do
Like-
have a couple of pair of yoga pants, but I don't go out of this house in them.
Yeah.
And like that's probably a good practice.
If you know, Mom, like you know that is
I mean,
true.
if
You
you
never see her.
if my body looked better in yoga pants, maybe,
No.
but
Honestly,
that's
I don't
not
think so.
that's not the body God gave
It's
me.
just not-
So I don't,
It's not you to wear.
yeah,
yoga
it's
pants.
not me. I buy a lot of stuff from Talbot's. I do.
Talbot's.
I
J.
really
Jill.
like J. Jill. I love consignment stores. Beatty Shoes is one of my most favorite places on earth to go.
But also, I feel like a lot of people don't, specifically our age, probably more so your age, but we shop a lot at like Dillard's and Belk department stores.
Yeah, I feel like that's not a common thing for people
Yeah,
our age.
I don't think so
But there
either.
are some gyms,
And they have
expensive,
they
but
have a lot of
gyms.
sales though. They have good
Yeah,
sales
they do have good sales.
And years ago, you girls don't remember this, we had a Parks Belt downtown.
I know that's what I was gonna say. I wish we still had
And when
shopping
I was
like
a
that
kid,
downtown.
it was Bug Off brand. And it had a little bug on it. And that was Parks Belt brand. And once every year, or I guess twice every year at the end of the seasons, they would have the half of half sale. And you listened to WRGS, and they would announce like the morning of or the day of that the half of half sale was going to be. And that's where you went and bought like your like leather lace up loafer shoes for next fall and all those kinds of things.
Is
you
that
know.
where you would buy stuff that looks like Meg Ryan wears in movies? Is that the era? We were watching We've Got.
I feel like
You've Got
the
Mail the
Meg
other day.
Ryan era was more of the gunny sack stuff from Rod Armstrong.
Okay.
Rod Armstrong, I don't remember having a lot of like everyday school clothes, but like you could buy your prom dresses and your Easter dresses and, like really nice underwear, and I know this sounds odd, but when we graduated from high school, that was a very common gift. Like the older ladies
Get
in your
nice
church
underwear.
would give you
I would love
nice,
that gift.
expensive
Me
underwear
too.
from Rod Armstrong's. And it came in this great little lingerie box, and you knew as soon as you saw that box and how it was wrapped,
Or
it was like, wow, this is going to be so nice.
Nice.
That's so funny because now that would be like people from your church giving you Skims.
Yeah, I mean, it would they went to Victoria's Secret for me and mine. That
Yeah,
feels odd.
personally, I would
But
love
then
that.
it was a big deal. I mean, it was a nice gift.
My secret pal at church got me a Skims gift card. That's
you go.
hilarious. So maybe the tradition's not dead.
That's funny. You've also really been into Spartina dresses, especially over the summer.
I have. I've discovered that when we were in Charleston last summer
they have
and got to try one on for the first time and kind of learned my size because I love to order. I shop online.
Me too,
I don't have time to.
unfortunately.
We live in Rogersville. I can order it and it can be here Tuesday. Why would I worry about where I'm going to drive to get something?
Yeah.
But, that's not to say I don't like to stop at the outlets and run by Opry Mills and go through
wrong with
and
that.
check everything out kind of thing when I'm out and about. But I find that I have less time to make those random stops when I'm out and about than I did a few years ago.
Okay, last question. I think I'm going to check the Facebook post and see if we have any late questions. But Jenna asked for advice for girls in their 20s.
Advice for girls in their 20s. Pray every day, multiple times a day if you need to.
That's good advice.
And figure out who you are and what you're going to be comfortable with, what's going to, what you are not going to regret when you lay down at night or when you look back at your week, and don't worry about what anybody else thinks.
That's very good advice, I think.
I think I need to work on that. Don't worry what everybody else thinks. Peace.
And
Everybody
we all
does.
do. I mean, I'm going to look back. I'm not going to watch this
I was going to
podcast.
say at this episode.
I'm going to think about everything I said and think, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Or I mentioned somebody but didn't mention somebody else. We're going to rethink and do. Women are probably worse at that than men, or worse about that than men. But, we're all, just try to
Experiencing
do.
life for the
yes,
first time together.
yes. Just try to do a little bit better today than you did yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll all take care of itself.
Well, I think that this was a really sweet. You gave some excellent advice. Very sweet episode. We appreciate you coming on. You articulate yourself very well.
Hold your microphone up.
Oh, sorry.
It's something you got to get used to.
Evidently.
You're used to singing like this, perhaps in the shower, but talking and being recorded,
Yeah, right.
it's new.
Right. It is
Lauren
new.
Gladson said, maybe this will be the start of a new thing for you. You're a wealth of knowledge. That was her comment on Facebook.
Well, she has been my partner in crime for planning many different things. So she's got quite a few ideas herself.
I was in my business associations class the other day, and we had to come up with a business idea. And my friend who I sit right next to said, we should do something with your podcast. And I was like, oh yeah, maybe we could have a podcast network and have like shows under us, like we're kind of the hub, and then different shows. So, if you're interested.
One day.
Well, I mean, we can do the Mother of the Bride.
Yeah, it could be like a limited series.
We could roll that one out. Yeah.
Free idea, someone.
Don't steal it.
Okay. Anything else?
I think that's good.
I think we've covered it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on, Pam.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Such fun.
Yeah, it really was. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you for joining our live, for all those who have. And I guess we'll see you all next week. See ya. Love ya. Bye.
Bye.